Why is it hard to understand other people who try to make us understand the nature of understanding? Why is it hard to comprehend what philosophers try to make us comprehend about the nature of comprehension? This is an interesting question, I think, and I would like to play with this a little. So, let me give examples first. Last week I was reading Walter Benjamin's dissertation thesis on the role of criticism in the early German Romantic era. I don't know the English title, but the point is that at first I had a really hard time understanding what was going on. It was hard to follow the subtle distinctions that were continually made as the argument unfolded. But as soon as I came up with an image, or my mind came up with a schema for the argument, and I drew it like this, it became much more easier. It became clearer. Suddenly I understood the distinctions and I could follow them through. And that was important. And it is interesting when you acquire a certain kind of thinking about a problem, a logic, that provides you with a lens through which all argument gains a contour, and you can relate to that argument. But more of that later. Let me give another example, and this is literature. Thomas Pynchon's The Crying of Lot 49. I want to read a sentence from this book. Yes, I have it. Let's see. Looking back, she forgot which had come first. The letter itself had nothing much to say, had come in response to one of her dutiful, more or less rambling, twice-a-week notes to him, in which she was not confessing to her scene with Metzger because Mucho, she felt, somehow would know. And this is the sentence. Would then proceed at a key CUF record hop to look out again across the gleaming gym floor, and there in one of the giant keyholes inscribed for basketball C, groping her vertical backstroke a little awkward opposite any boy heels might make her an inch taller than a Sharon, Linda, or Michelle, 17, and what is known as a hip one, whose velveted eyes ultimately, statistically would meet Mucho's and respond, and the thing would develop then groovy as it could when you found you couldn't get statutory rape really out of the back of your law-abiding head. Well, this is quite a sentence, and it's very murky, and the reason why it can be very murky, especially for non-native speakers like me, is that until you find the underlying schemas that fund the sentence and the concatenation, the combination of these schemas, you have a really hard time, because meaning does not emerge out of words that are put one after the other and they add up like adding quantities up, and they result in a result. This is not the way it works, because the basic units of language, as we know from construction grammar or cognitive grammar, is the construction, and the construction is a pairing of form with meaning, and they can extend beyond words. They can include idioms or structures like, or constructions like, for example, the passive construction, or an example, the Xer the wire. The more difficult it is, the more simpler it becomes. For example, bad example, but this is a construction also. And these constructions gain their semantic import from basic experiential gestalts, and these are image schemas, and they are composed into mental spaces or conceptual metaphors and things like that. I don't want to go into detail. For details, check out Conference Reports channel. He talks a lot about this. Anyway, the point is that these constructions derive from somatosensory engagements with the world outside, the external world, and you have to simulate them in your mind when you read a text. A comprehension requires a simulation, and that's why I would say that comprehension is an event. Yes, it's different from knowledge. This is a very hard proposition, but I would like to play with this also. So let me see. An event. An event is basically a process, as I make sense of it. And the process, if it is a process of a mind which is limited or have a certain way of negotiating the word, this process is structured, and this means it has a pattern. Now this is not the same as dealing with units and putting together units, because patterns are streams rather. But I think I should give a concrete example, and that would clarify what I'm trying to articulate here. Let's think about the Tetris game. In that game, at the top, figures or objects appear that descend, and you have to arrange them in the appropriate way and to align them appropriately so that the bottom line, the meaning, should disappear. And this is, I think, the basic paradigm in which we conceptualize the nature of meaning. There are units, entities, discrete entities like words, and they put together them in the right way, and when they gain meaning, they just disappear into the transcendent realm of meaning. And this is not a good way of conceptualizing the nature of comprehension, because, as I say, comprehension is an event. And I think this example, or this Tetris, would be more would be a better example for the nature of comprehension if it employed streams of patterns. Now, this is not an easy topic, but it's an interesting thing. Knowledge is, I think, something static. It's a collection of data, and this is different from comprehension or understanding, because in comprehension you have to negotiate patterns. Okay, knowledge is, let me try to say it this way, knowledge is a pattern recognition, basically. And these patterns are composed of or derived from biological necessities of the mind, of the way we are built in this particular environment, and the way they are sanctioned by the culture. These are the patterns we work with, and the way in which you can shift between patterns and understand distinctions that others make, as I think understood Walter Benjamin's argument, is understanding. The way in which you can toggle between different patterns of distinctions